My name is Nancy Riach and I work as the Partnership and Development Manager for the Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo. I have a background which took me through doing stage management and arts, and then went into doing marketing, and then after various things ended up here at the tattoo. So my role here is really to look after stakeholders, sponsors, funders, our partnership networks, and our loyalty program, so looking at how we kind of develop our audience. And our stakeholder group kind of is very varied. We work on a business model with 5 pillars, so we have tourism as our kind of key pillar, defence, foreign affairs, commerce, and then heritage, culture and arts as our 5 areas. And within that we work on a Edinburgh, Scotland, UK and sort of international level through the work we do. So when I heard about the Destination Leadership Programme, I wasn't exactly sure what it was, but from a personal point of view, it sounded appealing from the point of view of building my own leadership skills, to understand the tourism sector, create more networks, and probably with the role at the tattoo, understand the tattoo's place in tourism. It's one of many of the areas that we cover, but it's a key to what we do, and I just felt from a personal point of view and a work point of view it would cover a lot of the areas that would be really beneficial for me and for the tattoo, and probably a little bit about if and when I ever move on from the tattoo, it also gives me something that I feel like I'm part of and a kind of a place to stay. As it was the first time the Destination Leadership Programme had run, I don't think any of us knew exactly what to expect, but there was a real sense of sort of bravery in amongst the first cohort, where we all felt we were stepping into something that we believed would be useful, although we weren't exactly sure what it would deliver for us, and I think everybody was in that boat. But I think it was important, again, probably for 2 reasons. One, it was something I had already identified would be really useful, and the timing for me in this role was fantastic. But also, the tattoo itself was getting more involved. David Alfrey, the producer, had just become the Festival and Events Champion for the Scottish Tourism Alliance, and we were really sort of becoming a more integrated player in a lot of the tourism organisations. So it just felt like, for lots of reasons, it was the right time to do it. But there was a lot of conversation about what is it exactly, and we didn't really know, and so sometimes you just have to step up and get on with it and see what happens. So, taking part in the course, obviously there was such a range of topics and a range of speakers, and there were some amazing kind of topics covered that allowed you to kind of think about things from a destination point of view that sometimes you can't do when you're in a role or a business. And having a room full of people all heavily committed and enthusiastic and feeling empowered by what they were learning was a great environment. So from a personal point of view, I think it gave you a passion for your city and your country and tourism, but it also gave you a very realistic check of the place in the world, and also what everybody else is doing. So there's a lot of key learnings from other places and other people, which kind of allowed you to look at what you do, some of which, gave some real food for thought. Some of it made you feel like it maybe is that there's a lot of good stuff going on, and then looking at how to improve it. So I think that from that point of view, you went in not knowing what to expect, and you always came out at the end of the day feeling like you're so glad that you live in Edinburgh and there's so much potential. You're just not quite sure what to do about it. And as the course went on, the what to do about it became clearer, and some really, really strong thoughts came out from the group. From a professional point of view, I think again it was being able to look at what you do in a much wider context, and also hearing about other people and other organisations and what they were trying to do, and being able to kind of fit your pieces into the jigsaw puzzle. So some of the relationships with the airport, even Scottish Enterprise, and even Napier and some of the things that Napier are doing, just actually understanding the kind of landscape better, just made you feel really rooted in the sector with that ability. And I suppose as a partnership manager, actually recognising some of the partnerships which maybe weren't so obvious before starting was really, really useful. So moving on from taking part, some of the things that have happened because of the connections made as part of the programme. Again, the access to lots of different people talking about lots of different examples has led to all sorts of things, but one of the key ones for me was actually Chris Buckingham, who was originally involved with the setting up of the Destination Leadership Programme in Melbourne, talking about how it was set up and how Melbourne works as an events capital of the world, and how that was a very strategic decision for the destination to make it an accessible place. And at this point, the Tattoo was looking at its offshore programme, one of which was going to Australia, and we were looking at a few different destinations within Australia. So it allowed me to kind of pick up some of the contacts, understand the way that Melbourne works, and off the back of that work up sort of Melbourne as one of the destinations we looked at. And the outcome of that is that we're going to take the Tattoo to Melbourne in February 2016, which is just sort of a fundamental decision for the business. And as I said, the understanding of what the city had to offer was incredibly important for that. So that's one that's probably quite unique and specific to the Tattoo. One of the other ones was our group project. We all looked at all kinds of different projects, and we settled on doing one that looked at the value of the student marketplace as one we felt there was very little research or understanding of. And we looked at it from the point of view of how they impact on the tourism sector. So while they live here, they're part of the workforce. They probably don't get any recognition because they don't actually have the money to come and spend on going around a visitor attraction, but actually they work in most of the visitor attractions. They've got visiting friends and relatives who come to stay, which actually has an economic impact that's much bigger, because it's not someone just staying in a spare room and buying some extra shopping. It's normally people staying in hotels. When they're coming to the city, they also want to see the city, and they are people who are then going around and going to see what Edinburgh has to offer. So we felt that was something that needed to be looked into further. And then with the ambassadorial role, when people come and spend time in Edinburgh, whether it's 3 years, 4 years, you are creating a lifelong ambassador for the city. How many times they come back to visit, whether they stay here and work, whether they are sitting somewhere around the world talking about how fantastic Edinburgh is and other people come and visit, was just a missed opportunity in terms of an ambassadorial role. And at the moment, that's something that the Scottish Government is starting to look at, is the ambassadorial role of students for Scotland, and it's something we're going to be feeding our research into. One of the other things that came up was, as we were doing the research, is there's very few places in the world that actually has dedicated research around the impact of students and visiting friends and relatives. So we also know there's a great interest, if we did do it in Scotland, to be able to share it as best practice for other destinations. One of the other areas that was incredibly useful was actually to make some major connections with partners. And we already worked with Edinburgh Airport, but actually having someone on the course and having someone in my own group who was from Edinburgh Airport allowed us to really work on that relationship and cement something incredibly strong. And it's something that we now work with the airport along with some other key stakeholders in the city with that wider view of how we can work together to achieve things which individually our organisations can't. And probably the internationalisation, you know, where people are coming from, where should they be coming from, where are Scottish people going, all of which kind of routes through the airport, really matched in terms of where our audience demographic, our wider kind of reach, where we bring acts from, and what's of sort of more importance than just what we're doing. And probably around that, also the building of the relationships through the Global Scots Network and Scottish Development International. You know, we're now at a point where we trialled some activity again with Australia, but we're now rolling out a project with the support of Scottish Enterprise and Scottish Government International to do an international strategy for growth for the tattoo, which will be something we share with all key partners, so we can leverage the opportunities. But also we're creating hubs for ourselves in various markets, including China and India, Australia, the Gulf, and various other places which are key markets to us, key markets to Edinburgh and Scotland, but that we've got a kind of one-stop shop across all of our 5 pillars, so people understand what we're trying to achieve and how that actually feeds into the bigger picture. And I think a lot of that has come from that wider thinking, wider view, understanding what people do better, and actually knowing who to talk to, because sometimes it is just, with so many organisations doing so many things, actually working out who to talk to and how to take things forward. So I think that's been of great benefit as well. So I suppose what would I say to someone else thinking about doing it is do it. I think from a personal point of view, the leadership skills, the confidence, the passion, working out your place in the world, what the bigger picture is, being able to kind of join dots that you didn't even know there were dots. But it is about what you put into it. So you've got to have an open mind, you've got to go along, you've got to be able to kind of take a step back and actually approach it as an individual rather than as the job that you're in. And that's actually quite empowering and invigorating in its own right, because most of the time we spend our lives with the hat on of whatever job we do. This was about being there as an individual, and yes, it has huge benefits for the organisations that you work for, but it's actually got huge benefits for you as an individual that you take with you wherever you go. And probably some of that is about realising the potential, and also sharing of best practice. And sometimes it's just about being able to sit and have a moan with someone and realise they've got the same problem you have, and actually it doesn't seem so bad anymore. And that's actually quite an important thing to take away, because we all work really hard, we never have enough hours in the day, and we're really, really stretched. And actually just that shared feeling is really important, and also supportive to hear what other people have to say about it. It's been really nice to be involved with the second year and some of the projects they've been doing. And again, we're working on activity around China. One of the projects is looking about working with China. So it's been really nice. I encouraged a couple of people to take part who are on the course. And it's been really nice to be involved in some of the projects that they're working on, so that we have a wider impact, which is the outcome of course 2 also has the benefit of having kind of course 1's involvement, which actually just helps even more. So I would say, if you're thinking about it, then actually if you've got to the point that you're thinking about it, just do it.